people that listened, what stuck out for you? Here we go. The role of a sponsor. Oh yeah, we're going to talk about sponsor. I've kind of called it, today, I've called it sort of accessing advocacy, just because I think sometimes the term sponsor, be interesting to see what you all think, but sometimes I feel like sponsorship, it can feel a bit alienating, find a sponsor. So I'm going to talk about accessing advocacy as well, which is, kind of the same thing as sponsorship, but I think it's maybe got a broader appeal. So that's what we're going to talk about today. The Gremlins ladies. Okay, amazing. Continue looking to be 1% better. Yeah, we are going to talk about that, Victoria, as well. We're going to talk about continual improvement habits. Looking at big opportunities. Yeah, we're going to talk about, that's the first thing we're going to talk about, Catherine. Okay, so some of these things, don't worry if you didn't listen. You never have to listen. I think sometimes people, you might learn in different ways. So even if you don't want to listen to the podcast, you can kind of still learn on PodPlus. But we'll dive into some things together. Anybody that is new, obviously get chat open. You've already got chat open, so Chris said hello. And just like comment as you go. If the chat's distracting, you can get rid of it. If you want to contribute, put your thoughts in there. I always think that the value of this time together is the fact that we share some stuff and you kind of like 10x it with your comments and thoughts and insights and links. So please do that. Also, please stay to the end, because I'm going to put a QR code up, because I would like to invite you to be part of an experiment, should you wish to. It is an invitation which you can decline, which is to join the new Squiggly Career community on WhatsApp. I'm trialing a WhatsApp community for Squiggly Career people, starting with PodPlus. And the plan will be that community will kind of put links in there. There's one where we can just announce, like, here's what's happening and resources and stuff like that, so you can get them really easily on your phone. And then there's one where you can chat to each other should you wish to. If that sounds absolutely horrendous because you've already got 1,000,001 WhatsApp groups and you don't want another in your life, like, leave it alone. If you think, oh, actually, I quite like a bit of this, and then we'll give some feedback. I'm not going to post it on like Podmail or anything. We'll just keep it to this community, anyone who's in PodPlus, probably for about a month, and then you can give us some feedback on, is it useful? Basically, that's the thing we need to know. That's our value. If it's not useful, we'll just get rid of it, and we've all had a nice little month together. And if we like it, we'll share it. So it's up to you. Let's crack on. So when we were talking about creating career competitive advantage, it's a bit of a mouthful. Sarah and I were just sort of exploring with each other on podcast what that actually meant. And then we were thinking about who we knew that we thought had competitive career advantage. And I think the thing that we got to was those people were very great. Like, they were really good at cutting through in their career. So whether that was cutting through politics at work, whether that was like cutting through processes sometimes, like they found a way, they sort of find a way in and they find a way around. That these people that have got competitive career advantage, they seem to be doing something different that creates opportunities for their development. And what we were trying to get to is, what are these kind of people doing so that we can do more of it ourselves? Because we don't want this to be is I win, you lose. When you often talk about competition, it's kind of like, well, someone's got to win. So if I win, you're out. We're not looking for that. We are looking to learn from people who seem to cut through, so they create opportunities for their development, so that we can do some of that, and so that everyone wins. Really, that's what we're trying to get to. It's kind of everyone wins in their careers. So couple of ideas to share and to get kind of your builds on. So the first thing that we talked about was acceleration opportunities. So this was, who said it? Maybe it was Victoria said it. That it was one of the things that kind of stuck for people. And a couple of different acceleration opportunities to look out for. The first one is high profile problems. So most people do not pick up problems because they're not very sexy, right? They're like, people moan about them, people get annoyed about it. Everyone's like whinging about the problems that are in organization. And but high profile problems, if you can pick up a high profile problem, then actually you can be seen as a bit of a savior. That's quite a good way to create competitive career advantage. Now, you do not have to solve the problem. I think that's the really important thing to know. When you pick up a high profile problem, I think what you're doing is saying, I think that this is something that we should and could sort, and I'm going to take ownership for moving that forward. That doesn't mean you have to do it all on your own. I think part of the skill here is in bringing people together and in communicating what you're doing. To be honest, even if you don't solve the problem, the fact that you are seen as somebody who's picked up the problem brought people together to talk about it, communicated clearly what's going on with it, and then kind of got to some kind of conclusion. That is more positive than everyone just moaning. You'll be seen as a kind of positive, proactive person, which is the sort of behaviors we want to see when we're kind of creating these kind of cut through behaviors. Has anyone got an example of it? I thought, has anyone got an example of a high profile problem that they've picked up? Has anyone's already done this? Also stretches you, Eileen, I agree. I think these often give you opportunities outside of the day job. Quite easy kind of bit of job crafting can go on here. Has anyone done any sort of problem picking up which has been beneficial for their career? Let me know in chat. I think it just shows a lot of, I think it shows quite a lot of confidence to do it. Let's have a look at here. Process. I brought people in part of the process together and we came up with a new framework. Brilliant. So the new framework in itself probably hasn't changed everything, but the fact that there is now a framework because of Rachel, that's what we want. Karen says, I'm investigating and make a proposal to fix internal benefit disalignment, which I find unfair. What I like about that, Karen, is that you're not only sharing kind of your kind of proactivity, but you're also kind of sharing your principles at the same time. Like I think this is unfair and this is what I think we should do about it. You're kind of getting a double whammy there. And we'll talk about in a minute when we get through the ideas, like making sure that you're known for something. These people that cut through, they are often like, they're more than their job title. Like, it's not just, oh, they're a project manager. They're like, oh, they're the most fun project manager to work with. Or it might be Karen. Karen has like such a strong perspective on kind of making sure that it's fair at work. Like, you're kind of more than your job title. So Karen, you're kind of getting a double hit with that one. Sean, I've taken on a few, definitely helps build your reputation. Absolutely. Organizing events, yeah, no one ever wants to do. Yeah, people love them, don't they? People love it. Like, and you get a lot of goodwill. I mean, you get a lot of opinions as well. Like, whenever you organize events, everyone's got an opinion. So well done for navigating that. Awkward documentation. Okay, brilliant. Jess saying, I was handed a high profile problem. Was it positioned as an opportunity? They often are, aren't they? It's an opportunity for your growth. Looks like a problem to me, but ultimately it's been great for development. Good. Super. So what I think what we're trying to do here is to be proactive. So we're trying to spot high profile problems. If you can pick them up and progress them and get people involved, that's often a good acceleration opportunity. The other one we talked about here was high status situations. It's the events. It's the kind of the moments that matter. And I think the main point here is, as well as kind of spotting the moments that matter. So if I think about our business Amazing If, I mean, I kind of feel like every day is a moment that matters, because we're always, every day we do something to help people with their development. And I don't think anyone is more important than anyone else in that. So I feel like every day is a moment that matters. But there are some that I think are particularly significant for us. So when we do events, I think are big for us. So we do some events that are for the like companies we work with. We do things like Squiggly Careers Live. They are high status situations. And I think when people get involved in them, they really stand out. They really stand out because of them. Onyeka, for example, was recently in one of our high status situations. She's on the front row and she's capturing pictures for us while kind of Vivi was on holiday. So it's those kind of things. I think, again, the theme here, create, don't wait. Don't kind of go, oh, I wish someone would invite me into their high status situation. I think this is about you scanning in your team, in your department, in your organizations, what are those, and then offering to get involved. My main point here is you don't need to lead it for it to be an opportunity. Like the fact that you are involved in it, that you're part of something that matters to lots of people, that's sort of in the spotlight, that's really helpful. And to be able to think, just being helpful in those moments, you don't have to be the leader of the day, being helpful in those moments makes a big difference. Thanks, Onyeka. It was lovely. Onyeka was so smiley at the front row. It's brilliant. Okay, that is acceleration opportunities. What else was I going to say about them? Oh, it does link really nicely with learning agility. So often in these acceleration opportunities, you are doing things you've never done before. Like you're like, oh no, I never got involved in this thing before. I've never worked on that problem before. And learning agility is the ability to take knowledge that you have and apply it to a situation you've not been in before. So it's not kind of a direct match, but the fact that you can kind of take that knowledge that you've got from other things and apply it is the thing that often helps you to sort of bridge the unknown. We've done a whole podcast on this. So I think if this is an area you're interested in and maybe you missed the learning agility stuff, I can I don't know, I thought, I'll zoom in here. Can you see that QR code? That is a free 2-minute assessment, which helps you to understand your level of learning agility at the moment, and where you've got particular strengths and where you might have some gaps. So if you kind of missed that episode, it might be a good kind of listen after it, or at very least the assessment might be useful for you. We can always kind of put the link in chat for it if it's helpful. Any questions on acceleration opportunities before we segue on to continual improvement habits? That's where we're going next. Can't see. I'm going to have a little sip of coffee. Coffee is the fuel of the week. Okay, no questions. Let's move on to continual improvement habits. So the idea here is that these people that have got competitive career advantage, they don't let themselves or their skills stagnate. This is the 1% thing that someone mentioned earlier. They are constantly looking for, how can I increase my impact? How can I improve in this particular area? We talked about on the podcast as, borderline relentless. Like it's I believe I can be better. I believe I can do it better, and I'm committed to kind of making it better. That's the kind of energy that these people have. Now, you might think, I do not have the energy to be relentlessly improving every day. I get it. So let's just kind of pick a few habits that, whether you do them every day or whether you do them quite often, is up to you. But the idea here is that these people are continually improving. They're always looking to be better. And so these are a couple of the ideas that I do. And so I thought what we might be able to do as a community is just try and capture a few other ones. So my question to you is, what is one of your continual improvement habits? So something that you kind of work on regularly to improve and get better at. 2 of mine that I use. So really quick feedback tool, what worked well, even better if. Use it all the time to try and improve, to try and spot what I'm doing that's working so I can do more of it, and then to improve in areas that I could increase my impact. So I do what about even better if, works all the time. I've used it several times this week already. I ask it in person, I ask it over WhatsApp. And then the other one with my talk listen ratio. I mean, this is a bit of a bad environment, to be honest, because I feel like I'm just talking at you again, because that's sort of my role in this situation. But in a conversation, I'm very conscious of my talk listen ratio. My aim is to increase my listen ratio. The other ratio that I look at is the ask answer ratio. So I'm always trying to ask more questions than I answer. More in a one-to-one type situation, just because I think that helps other people think more deeply. And sometimes that's more the value that I can add rather than just telling someone what I think. So these are sort of 3 areas for me of continual improvement habits. What have you got? Public speaking, volunteering, brilliant, Ruth. Journaling, yeah, I thought that too, Zoe, that's a good one. What else have we got? Asking, what could we have done better? It's nice. What else have we got here? Podcast, Jamie, that's great. How do I measure my talk listen ratio? Yeah, that's a great question, Amy. I self-reflect on it. And there are actually apps you can use for it, which I was using for quite a while. So there's an app called Poised that I was using, and then that literally gives you the data. It kind of integrates with, it doesn't work with doing in-person meetings, but it integrates with Zoom and Teams, and it will literally give you the data about how dominant you were in a conversation. But generally, I'll just kind of reflect afterwards and think, did I get the ratio right? And sometimes I'm happy and sometimes I'm not, but it's always something that I'm kind of reflecting on. Fast feedback, brilliant, Karen. That's a good one. What else we've got? I'm looking at some other ones. Radical candor. It's a good one, Caroline. Asking for feedback. Yeah, kind of, I think with feedback, it's obviously there's an asking and a kind of asking for and giving. I use data since podcast. Oh yeah, that's interesting, Tracy. That's a really interesting way of doing continual improvement habits. So we tend to find that, we did the podcast on kind of getting data for your development. Anytime when you are reflecting or on your performance, anytime you can kind of turn that reflection into data, I think it's really helpful. So I might say, on a scale of 1 to 5, how well do I think I ran PodPlus today? And I'm like, I don't know, might give myself a 3. I might be like, especially random today. But then that gives you a way of kind of going, well, what would it take for me to be at a 4 next time? It also gives you a way that you can go and get feedback from people and say, you know, on a scale of 1 to 5, how effective was PodPlus for you today? So that you can compare it. I think anytime you can turn it into data is quite a kind of a good way of working with this. The other idea that we talked about in the podcast is about when you've got those ideas of your kind of continual improvement habits, sort of designing your own work operating system. So the thing that we noticed here was that these people who have got competitive career advantage, they intentionally design their days. And there isn't a blueprint that I think you can just copy. I think you have to work out what your operating system looks like. So for example, for some people, I see that whole, you know, I only check emails twice a day. I mean, I'm like, you hero, because that doesn't work for me. Well, some people are like, my operating system, you know, I no notifications on my phone. Or part of Sarah's operating system is to always go for a walk. She was ill a week and a bit ago, and she kind of basically didn't leave the house for a week. That's very like anti-Sarah. So I think being able to think, what's a good operating system for me? So whoever it was that was journaling earlier, like I think, you know, maybe starting your day by journaling, that might be part of your work operating system. So the point is, there is no perfect work operating system. There's just what works for you. But the people who have got competitive career advantage designed their days very intentionally. Like it's not accidental that they take an afternoon off to go Pilates. That is part of their work operating system, and they will keep to that because that's the way that they work best. And I also think if you're in a team, understanding people's work operating systems is a healthy thing to do, because then you can support it and you don't you know, you don't do things that are in conflict with people's work operating systems. But also you might spot it. Like if everyone's work operating system is like they have a different day off a week. So I'm like, I'm off on Monday, Tuesday, someone else on Wednesday or Thursday, then the team's never together. So I think it is useful to talk about what does a good work operating system look like for you. Okay, this is how to work best with Caroline. Yeah, there is a really nice tool called, I mean, it goes beyond just the work operating system, but I don't know if any of you seen the Manual of Me. I was reminded because Matthew Knight, who created that tool, I saw him post something on LinkedIn this week and reminded him it's a really good tool. Manual of Me, it's quite good for self-reflection, but it's also good for sharing with people. I think Matthew originally designed it for freelancers because CVs didn't really give a full window into the world of like who they are and all the different things that they have done. So have a look at Manual of Me, might be a useful thing to have a look at. Okay, 6 minutes and 2 more things to go through. This is the sponsorship point. So accessing advocacy. So the point here is that people with competitive career advantage, they are like amplified by others. So it's not just me trying to cut through, it's like all these people that are like, oh, put Helen on a project. Like all these other people are kind of cutting through for me. And so if you can access advocacy, it increases your opportunities, which, you know, leads to more competitive career advantage. So that's the thing we're trying to unlock. Thank you, Caroline. Caroline's put the link to Manual of Me in chat. So we think the best way to start with accessing advocacy is to kind of start with the easy people that you might already have. So a mentor, so someone who's done what you want to do, that's normally what we call a mentor, or a manager. These people are kind of easy wins for advocacy, but in order for them to talk about the brilliant work that you're doing, we need to make sure that they have got evidence of our impact. So it's not just Helen's doing a good job at the moment, it is Helen has reduce the project costs by 20%. Like they have got some evidence, so that in conversation with their colleagues or their manager or, you know, their stakeholders, they've got stuff that can be shared on our behalf. So really think about, with that manager and that mentor, are you talking to them confidently and clearly about your impact? Because otherwise it's a bit wishy-washy. Their advocacy might not really have an impact for you, because it's a bit like, oh, Helen's a nice person. I mean, okay, good, I'm glad. But actually what I want them to do is like share my stats, share my impact. So they can't do that if they don't know it. So if I were you, I'd start writing down a couple of like stats that demonstrate your impact, like things that you have done that they can share on your behalf, and be really clear and confident in communicating those things to them. They've got to have something tangible to kind of share with others. I would also say, if you want them to advocate for you, connect to something they care about. So maybe they care about female founders, for example. I might speak to someone and I might be like, this is some of the brilliant stuff that I've been doing. I know that you really care about female founders, so I thought you might be interested to know. Suddenly you've dialed it up because you've connected your impact with something they care about. They are way more likely to advocate for you if you've got those two things going. Claudia says, I think the best way to have an advocate for your job is to do your job with integrity and aspiring for excellence, no matter how small the job. Maybe Claudia's talked about a video. Maybe Claudia put the video in chat for people, might be useful. Okay, I'm conscious of time, so I'm going to move us through. The last thing that we talked about in the podcast was this, well, actually, the last thing was two things. So it was about being known for something. This is a point that I mentioned about people who've got competitive career advantage. There's something about them that stands out, like beyond the job title, whether it's the way that they collaborate, or the way that they run a meeting, or the energy they create in others. There's something about that person that's sort of like uniquely them. So you want to think about what is uniquely me, what do I want to be known for? And then we also need to make sure we know what's needed. So I think the ability to show up in the moments that matter and show up in the way that matters in that moment. Like, you've got to be in the moment, and then you've got to sort of behave in a way that moment needs, is really important. Just a couple of points on this. So on the being known for something, this could be a trait. So I would say one of my traits is probably like my positivity, my energy. That's a trait that I wanted to be known for. Or it could be a talent. So it might be, you're amazing at processes, you're amazing at events, you're an amazing data analyst. It doesn't really matter whether it's a trait or a talent. What matters is you choose it. Like, no one else is sort of defining this for you. You choose what you want to be known for. And if you're struggling, because I know that sometimes people are like, oh, I don't know what I want to be known for. If you're struggling, sometimes just getting a little bit of strengths-based feedback. So this is you saying, asking people, when do you see me at my best? Sometimes just asking them that question can give you that data. Like, if you can't work out what you want to be known for, maybe start with some feedback and see whether that's what you want. But the really important, whether it's a trait or a talent, and you know it today, or you have to get some feedback, the really important thing for you to reflect on is that trait or that talent seen by other people? You'll get that by that question. Is it being used as much as it can? And is it valued by others? If it is seen, used, and values, you're winning. If you know what you want to be known for, but no one sees it and it's not used, and actually they don't care about it, then that's not great. We're not getting the cut through that's going to really help us have impact. So make sure you know what you want to be known for, and then I'll do some work on, is it seen, used, valued? That's the question that I think we should ask. And last thing, know what's needed. We talked on the podcast about asking, not assuming. So in a meeting, this is like a meeting or a moment, ask some questions so that you can work out, how do I need to show up today? And what do I need to show up with? So often I will start with an informal, like, oh, how's everyone going? How's the week going? Because I know that if everyone comes back and is chatty, then I can show up as chatty Helen. But if they come back and go, yeah, great, we're in quite a time constraint today, I'm like, take away chatty Helen and get on with it. So I normally ask an initial question that helps me to work out, how do I need to show up? How do I need to behave in this moment? And then I will often ask a question that helps me sort of work out, what do you need now from me? Not just how do you want me to behave, but what do you need now from me? So my question, and I think that the point here is, what's your question? I will often ask in a meeting, where's a good place to start today? Like, I will ask and not assume. And I think those two questions for me, like, how's the week going? That sets the tone. And where is a good place to start? That helps me find the topic. And I am then able to know what's needed in that moment or in that meeting. Okay.